So, okay, so let's get started. And this is about Nearpod, using it with your students and such. And I will tell you, I started using Nearpod, I think, when it was born. And it's about 5 or 6 years old now. And I've used it in all grade levels. And a lot of times, especially when I'm working with elementary schools, I have to tell you, one of my best lessons was with a kindergarten class using Nearpod. And the kids had never touched an iPad. They knew nothing about Nearpod. And we did a lesson on Pete the Cat and his white tennis shoes. So I love Nearpod for all ages. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting you off as my students, because I want you to see what the students see and experience initially. And then we'll switch and be where you're in your Nearpod account and all. And so we have just a short time, so this might go kind of fast, but it's pretty intuitive and all. So the first thing I'm going to do, and we're up to 35. Woohoo! I'm going to be sharing my screen.
So where is it?
And all. And so I am going into my Nearpod library. And you see everything else I have open. And that's Nearpod for quite a while. So I have a lot of lessons in my library. Yours may not quite look like mine because I have so many lessons. I also have folders and such for all the different lessons. So this is our lesson and its own, introduction to Nearpod. And since you're still all virtual, we'll certainly focus on how you can do that. And when I hover over my lesson, I have two choices here: live participation and student paced. The difference is live participation, it still will go out to all your students, but they're with you at that time and you're in charge, you're moving the slides. Student paced means that you're sending them a code and they can do the lesson at their own time and all. So it's still the same lesson, but it's done at their own time. Now, and that may come in handy because you may have students that maybe need parent assistance or something like that. And so they would maybe do it later when a parent or an older sibling was available. So I'm going to go into live participation. And when I click on it, it generates a code. And it's these 5 characters. It is not case sensitive. And so I give this code to my students. And since you're my students, you should be at nearpod.com. There's a little, you can put, it says student code or join or something like that. And you put in this code. This happens to be 3RHZA. Now, the nice thing about this code, it stays on my screen even when I close this one out and start the lesson. So if I have someone come in late, I can quickly look and give them the code. You can also put it in Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, a link. So it's 3RHZA. And then it asks you for your name and to submit. So I click on the X. And now this is starting my lesson. So right now I see that only a couple of you have gotten in. So please, if you're having trouble, let me know, but you should be at a student login, and it's 3RHZA. Now, this is a good thing to know. It's down on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen when you're teaching remote. Are your students in the lesson and such? And so you can look down there and see that the number of students that have put in the code to log on to Nearpod. Now, if you don't get in or something, you can follow me on my screen. But if you're in, you're going to be seeing it from a student viewpoint and all. And as I said, I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and you're in New Jersey, so maybe it has to get across the big cloud.
And I think we have a latecomer waiting to get in.
Okay,
She had another meeting. She had another.
Okay, let me get to that. Oh, I've got several here. Let me have them join. All right. What did you promise all these people? A day off?
No, we heard you're fantastic. That's why they're all here.
Okay, so some of you just came in, and what you want to be, you're my student, so you just go to nearpod.com and you put in the code. And the code I'm giving you is 3RHZA. The number 3RHZA. And even if I had started and I was 5 minutes into this, it would catch those students who came in late to where we were in the lesson. Okay? And so then I'm going to go ahead and start. As I said, I'm happy to answer. I'm actually retired now, which is wonderful, but I do a lot of consulting. I am a level 3 certified trainer for Nearpod. And I think the whole world has jumped on the Nearpod bandwagon and all. And now this is a Google form. And so this is within my presentation. I'm asking you just for your email and your name, because after this is over with, I'm going to send you some additional resources, and I'll just be able to go to my Google Docs and pick up your emails and send those to you this afternoon. So this is a Google Doc. It's a very short one, but it's within my lesson. So just your name and your email. And if you don't get it, somebody will share it with you. Now, for those this I think would be more applicable to those who have maybe the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students and such. If your students want to take notes, up on their screen there is an icon that has looks like pencil and paper. You click on it and it is either saved to their Google Drive or to their email. You do not see this on the teacher screen. It's just for the student.
Okay. And I couldn't understand her, and it's the wrong code.
No.
Okay,
Sorry, I
some of you may
so
still need to
listening.
mute.
Yeah.
If you're not muted, please mute. Okay, now, moving on. This, you'll see some signs like that have a down arrow. That means there's just additional ones there. Because we just have a little over an hour, we're going to not look at all of those. This is a poll. This is an activity within Nearpod. And I'm asking you in this poll to tell me how familiar are you with Nearpod? I love doing polls. One, I see the results in real time. I get 100% participation, and it's giving me immediate feedback. It's building a pie chart for me, and I will tell you, kids love seeing the pie chart after a poll is done and all. So it's very easy. There's a share button right in the middle of the pie chart for you to share it out with your students. Right now, 38.7% say I've heard of Nearpod. And the next largest group, I've used Nearpod a few times. And I got a couple saying near what, which is fine because this is a beginning session. But I see this, as I said, it collects that data for me right here and all. And so, and I have, let's see, a couple of you that use Nearpod all the time. And that's great because you're a great resource for your fellow teachers if you've used it a lot. So this is what I was seeing. I was seeing the results. Here's my share button. And that particular pie chart was very interesting. Now, this is a video. You can have videos within your Nearpod. And every time I have a video, I'm going to get this pop-up window, and it says, would you like this video to be played? Where? On all devices or this device only? Most of the time I do this device only, and you can do it all devices. The thing is, when you do all devices, your students are going to kind of start it at different times, so you have to allow some time for all of them to get through. But I'm going to do this device only. And this is just a introduce. Throughout this, Nearpod has put in some very short videos, and they're a good teaching tool. And so you see, all I have to do
Introducing
is click on this.
Nearpod. With Nearpod, you can make every lesson interactive. Launch lessons your students can't wait to join with collaborative, engaging activities like virtual reality, simulations, and gamified quizzes. As the teacher, you'll always know where your students are with Nearpod's formative assessments, including polls, open-ended questions, draw-its, and more. Get started with what you already have. Upload any of your favorite resources, PowerPoints, Google Slides, and videos, including directly from YouTube. Then, add in media and formative assessment in a few clicks. And now you can add questions directly into videos to make them interactive. Get started even faster with our library of pre-made lessons and videos, built in partnership with some of your favorite brands. You can use them as is or customize to meet the unique needs of your students. Once you're ready to launch your lesson, choose from 3 teaching modes. In live participation mode, you control the pace and students participate on their devices, either in person or remotely with web conferencing. In student-paced mode, students move through and participate on their own, whether they're working from home or in class working in centers, stations, or groups. With front-of-class mode, you can use Nearpod without student devices and facilitate collaborative discussions. Imagine what you can do with Nearpod. Your students will love lessons that combine engaging media with collaborative ways for them to show off how much they've learned. You'll love unlocking student understanding in real time and having reports.
Okay, so it's very user-friendly, and as I said, you can edit it to meet your class. This is a lesson that was done in PowerPoint several years ago, and it was on predator and prey. As a PowerPoint, it wasn't interactive, so I brought it into Nearpod to make it interactive. And so now on your screen, you have some drawing tools down at the bottom on the left-hand side. And I'm asking you to draw a picture of what you think a predator would look like. I'm doing a pre-assessment in this lesson. I do not go ahead and start drawing. I do not spend time going over the drawing tools because guess what? Those kids figure them out very, very quickly. I might say, well, there's more colors than black and all. You can add a timer to this activity because they always want to spend more time on it than you might have planned for and such. Now, several reasons that I really love Draw It activities. One, it's the creative part. Quite frankly, you never know what you're going to get. The other is a lot of times, all of us have our kids in our classes that are very shy, but maybe they do a great drawing. And when all these are submitted, I could share out their drawing to the rest of the class, and we could talk about why their drawing was a predator. And, you know, I have done a lot for their self-esteem and all. So I'm getting some very interesting drawings. I see it. I think it's a very skinny snake. Oh, now it's got more. It's not as skinny and all. And so I can tell those of you that have submitted, because your name bar has turned green, those that are still drawing, it's yellow. So I always have to say, okay, go ahead and finish up and submit. Now, the drawings will show up in reports by each of the students' names so that you can go back and look at them if they have submitted. So that's why you want to make sure that your students hit the submit button so that you will have those drawings. And I can tell you right now, you all are very, very artistic. And Stephen Bond, your elephant just is ferocious and all. So it's fun to look at these. When I'm working with elementary students, if I share out one drawing, they all want theirs shared out. So just keep that in mind. I think that I like having something like this at a beginning of a lesson. Kind of breaks the ice. The kids get used to it. They like it and all. So go ahead and submit. I'm sure some of you could just keep on going. And William, I have to ask you, that looks like a plant that's a fly trap. I don't think I've ever had that drawn before as a predator. So as I said, it's just a great activity and all. So here's what I was seeing. I was seeing all your drawings, and I can tell all these have been submitted because it has turned green. Now, you're going to see this throughout, and we'll talk about it. This little symbol up here in the top of my slide, that's a partnership with Immersive Reader. And so there's a lot on the places where Immersive Reader icon will show up. And what that means, the students can click on it, and it would read, like draw a picture of what you think a predator would look like. And I think that's very important for your school, especially your school in particular, as I was learning about it before everybody got on. So we'll make sure that it's a toggle button that you turn on in settings. We want to make sure that that's on. So this is just a plain old slide. You see that and we have pictures. We'd talk about it. Here's the definition. Now, this is a different way to do a draw it activity. I'm doing a formative assessment. I say circle the predator in each sentence. So you pick up your drawing tools again, and you just go in and you circle the predator in each sentence. So it doesn't have to be just a creative drawing. It could be something like this. Also, it could be a math problem, and they would write the answer. It could be a map. There's just so many different ways to use the draw it tools. And you can turn your slides from just a plain slide into a draw it. Again, very easy for me to look through these and see if everybody is circling what the predator in each sentence. So this is what I was seeing. And so this tells me, do I need to reteach or can I move on? So I'm moving on. This is a 3D, and there's quite a few of these that you can add. Of course, they all love sharks and all, and they like to get up and see the teeth and all that. But there are other 3D images. There's one on the auditory system, on plant cells, and such, just not on, it doesn't have to be the shark. This is a very short quiz. You can have quizzes, and this only has 2 questions, so you can go ahead and be answering those. I will see the results again in real time. Also, this will be graded for me so that when I go to my reports, I will see how each student has done and all. So this could be 10 questions. It could be 15 questions and all. So this just was a short quiz so you could see how it works. Again, it's building a pie chart for me. Obviously, I'm looking for a key lime pie. I want everything to be green. And if it's a cherry pie, well, that's okay. I know I need to go back and reteach. So this is what I was seeing. I was seeing how everybody was doing. Here was my pie chart and such. This is a collaborate board, and it says, would you like to approve student comments before they are posted? Now you're adults, so I'm going to say no. That's up to you. You have younger students, so maybe you don't need to read them before they show up on the collaborate board. But again, this is something where I get 100% participation. I'm asking, search for a picture of a prey, add it to the collaborate board, and describe your animal. So down here in my text box, I could type in rabbit is a prey because, and I'm just typing in Swedish, but right over here next to that text box is a blue button that has kind of a landscape on it. I click on it and it takes me to Google Images. And so I click on the magnifying glass, and here are all my cute pictures of rabbits. So I pick one and I save it. So now I can post my comment, my explanation with my image. And let's say that you, weren't approving them and something did show up that was not appropriate. There's a trash can on each one of these. So if somebody did put something inappropriate, I would just click on that and that would delete that particular card. So there's lots of ways that you can use collaborate boards, and you can insert these any point in your presentation. Again, a great way to get a quick assessment of their understanding. So this is what I was seeing. I was seeing all of these, and you can see here's, it says this card was deleted. So, click on the trash can and it goes away. Again, you see this immersive reader icon up here. So that would have read that question aloud. And these are just plain slides. This is an open-ended question. And in an open-ended question, there is no right or wrong answer. And so this will not be graded for you. It will be, though, in your reports, and I will see the answers in real time, but I'll also be able to look in my reports and see what each student answered and all. Again, I can, once a student has submitted, I could share their answer out. So if I have a student that just really nails it and gives a great explanation, I just can hit the share button by their name and their entry, and we as a class could talk about their response. So this is what I was seeing, and you see Mary Poppins really nailed it because she explained her answer, and all I'd have to do is hit the share button. I think what you'll find as you use Nearpod is it's very intuitive. It is, you can't break it, so don't be afraid of clicking on something. This is a Microsoft Sway. You may not be familiar with this. I say it's like a PowerPoint on steroids. I didn't make this. I've never made one. But in the content area, there are a number of Microsoft sways that you can put into your lesson. So I felt like that this really tied in with my lesson and all. And when I get to a stack of cards like this, I just click on each one of them. So if I do have a Microsoft sway in there, in my presentation, I need to make sure I allow enough time for the students to read the information. Now, match the word with this is a matching activity. You create your own matching. So it could be a word with a definition. It could be a math problem with an answer. It could be a beginning sound with an image of that, of a word beginning with that sound. And all of this, I'm going to show you how to do. But again, just another way of doing an assessment is very easy to do. You can, I have a view pairs. I could show all the pairs afterwards and see, we could talk about why this one matched up to that. What I was seeing in real time was how many tries it would take you. See, poor Oprah, she just was clicking around. This is VR, virtual reality, and I will tell you the kids love virtual reality. And they can scroll out, they can scroll all around. If they're on a mobile device, they can just move that device around. A lot of times I'll have a leading question like on a slide before this, say, be prepared to describe what a coral reef looks like, or see if you can find the largest predator in this picture. This is a partnership with 360 cities. You've got hundreds to choose from. It could be the pyramids if you were studying Egypt, famous places, famous landmarks, and all. So Nearpod has done a great job of partnerships. Here's another Collaborate board, but you know, it doesn't have images. So your students don't have to come up with an image every time. They could just post their thoughts and all. As I said, I'm going through some of this kind of fast and not looking at all the details, mainly because of all I want us to do. Anytime you see the Nearpod icon, you just click on it and it will take you to your library. A new means new slides, new lesson. Quick launch is you're in a lesson and you thought of something and you want to do it as an open-ended question or draw it, and you just do it on the fly. We're going to look at your profile because there's a number of advanced settings that you need to decide if you want them to be turned on or off. Like here's immersive reader, which I know we want to turn on and all. So let me just, now here's the beauty. You do not have to start from scratch. In the Nearpod library, there are over 8,500 plus lessons, and they have just added interactive videos, which means videos with embedded questions. That just happened in August. But you don't have time to look at all these lessons. There's various filters. We're going to look at that. You can search by state standards to find lessons that meet a certain standard that you are teaching. And as I said, there's a number of videos that you can go back and look at and all. But once you find a lesson, it's very easy to take it from the Nearpod library and put it into your library. And once it's in your library, you can edit it and make it personalized for your class. Okay. Now, the student-paced lessons, as I said earlier, they do it on their own. It's the same lesson. They get a code. just like you do for the live participation. This is the code, and it's good for 29 days. Has a little toggle underneath here that says require student submissions. And what that means is in the student paste, if I have a draw it, if I have a quiz, whatever, they have to do that before they can move on. If I put it in there, I want them to do it. Reports are fantastic. You'll see how they class summary, how each one of them did individually, how each question, what was, how many got it right, how many got it wrong. You can get to reports about 3 different ways. It's very, very easy to do. So as I said, I'm going through this just so that we can get back into the Nearpod library and learn how to add activities and such. This is a fill in the blank. It's a drag and drop activity. And so the students drag the correct word to the correct blank. And this will also be graded for you because it's set up as there's a correct, to do it correctly. But if you were doing this with your students, live participation, you had time, you would have them do it, you would see again their score right in front of you. So it's drag and drop, and you create your own. Now this is Time to Climb. Time to Climb is a gamified quiz. And our students have grown up on videos and games and such. And so there's a lot of time to climbs that are already created for you. You can turn any quiz into a time to climb. You can change the scenery. Mine's underwater right now, but I could click and make it the Halloween one and all. We're not going to take time to do all of this one, but I'll just get it started. And so the players, it starts, and maybe a couple of you will jump on and say you're going to play. They pick their mean. And so I can see how many of the students have connected. And when all my students had connected, of course, I would go ahead and start it. I haven't seen this one on Halloween. It's pretty spooky here and all. And so again, it's just another way to keep the kids engaged and all. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the start button so that you have an idea of what happens. As I said, you can create your own. You can turn the sound off or down. This is on there, there, and there. The questions do have a timer on them, so if everybody finishes, say in 15 seconds, you move on and all. And what I have a leaderboard, and I can see that Mary Rose for Gary, I hope I said that right, it was in first place. And then it goes on to the next question and all. So as I said, I think for elementary, kids definitely enjoy Time to Climb. So let me just quickly show you. This is some of the things we're going to be looking at. How can I add additional content? I could add a web URL. PhET simulations are math and science simulations, and they're in categories elementary, middle school, and high school. Here's the Microsoft Sway. Here are the activities, which we've done almost all of them. And so you can add any of these. Memory test is, I would say for kindergartners, it's like matching a cat to a cat, a hat to a hat. Audio response, that means that on certain questions, the students can reply, like an open-ended question, reply orally. You can add your voice to slides. as you can do it as you're creating them or as even on existing slides, okay? So we add content and we add activities. So I have an error here on this. The Facebook group of Nearpod educators is fantastic. Teachers are so good about posting questions and such. So I can end this session. I could go to reports directly from here. And I'm going to say, are you sure? And I'm going to say yes. Now my reports are ready right now from this very lesson. So now if you can be in your Nearpod account, so we can look at the way we do all these different things. And as I said, I have a lot of folders and such. Here's what I want us to do first. Over here in the top right corner is where your profile is. Yours may be just a little gray circle. Click on it. Slide down to lesson settings. And here are these toggles that you can turn on and off. If your students are logging on through Google or Office 365, then this would be an autofill for their names. Here's Enable Immersive Reader. Make sure it's turned on. Here's Enable Student Notes for those of you maybe 4th and 5th graders. You probably want to turn that on. This is up to you. Do you want your students to see the graded version of their quiz when they do it student paced? I have this one turned off. Allow students to resubmit answers in live participation. That's strictly up to you. I make sure you turn on Collaborate Board, because if you don't, when they get a Collaborate Board in a student pace lesson, and it'll say waiting for teacher input. Here's the one I would turn on to. Require student submissions. When they're doing a student pace lessons, I want them to answer the poll. I want them to take the quizzes and such. So you can see this is, as I said, you can change these at any point. You just go over here to your picture or your profile, slide down to lesson settings, and this is what pops up. Now, all I have to do is click on this Nearpod icon, and that takes me back to my library. But your new best friend is the Nearpod library. So over on the left-hand side, click on Nearpod library. And here's where you see, this is where all the lessons and videos are. But you don't have time to look at all of them and such. So we have filters. One of the main ones at the top here is select a state standard. So I'm going down to New Jersey. And I'm going to say I teach social studies. And I am a 4th grade teacher. And so here are my strands, and I'm going to click this. Here's one on maps and globes. I'm going to click on that. And there's 2 lessons on reading maps. And this is done by a teacher, but all these lessons have been vetted. And like her lessons, Britta Willis, are great. And so that gives you, that may be the lesson and I'm going to show you how you would bring this in. So you say, oh, reading maps, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm on it, I'm hovering over it. It says you have to preview the lesson, which you should. And so I get into this lesson. It tells me that here's my standard over here. I could click here, I'd get related content. I go through and I preview. And here's how far apart. That's pretty hard to on maps. Are they drawn to scale? So I've looked at it, it's great. It has 22 slides, that's fine. Add to my library. And now when I go back to Nearpod, to my Nearpod library, there is Britta's. I could use it as is, but I'm going to show you how to edit. But let's go back to the Nearpod library. That's not the only way to search. Up here, I could say weather. And if I just say weather, I would get weather for all the grade levels. But let's say I am a 3rd grade teacher. And so now I've said 3rd grade weather. And so here are all these lessons available that have to do with weather. Whenever you see something that has a time beneath it, you know that that is a video that has some embedded questions. I absolutely love this person, that she must work for Nearpod, but she has great ones and she's so expressive. Here is a time to climb on weather and all. So you can search that way. And anytime you want to change your filters, just click on the X and all. So you can search just by, if you want to see everything that was available for 3rd grade, you would just click on that and you would see all of these lessons. That's still a lot of lessons, and some of them have maybe 10 lessons for you in it. And so here's another teacher, Rick Meyer, and he loves science, and so here he has on animals. So you preview the lesson and you add it to your library. So you can use any of these filters. You can search by a topic. But let's go back in. I'm going back to my Nearpod library. We brought this lesson in on reading maps. And here on this lesson, I have this button that says edit. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to edit the lesson. You can make a duplicate so that you always have the original and all. Now, as I said, this had, I think, 22 slides and all. Well, you know, my students may not be interested in finding out much about Britta. So I'm going to click on this slide and I'm going to delete it. So if there are slides that you want to delete, it's very easy to do. And you see she has some great draw it activities. She has a quiz. So this is a quiz. Now, McClaw, Time to Climb is fairly new too. So this would just be a quiz like you took. But if I click on this right here, notice it says up here is convert to Time to Climb. So I could take that. Do you want to keep the copy? No. I could turn that quiz into the gamified version and all. So that probably would be something my students would like. I could add more questions to it, whatever I wanted to do. So now you see it's time to climb. It doesn't have the word quiz on it. It says time to climb. Now up here, it says add a slide. This is where I start making it personal for my class. I could add web content. You know how most URLs are pretty long. I happen to pick nasa.gov because it's short, but you don't want your kids having to type in a long URL and all. I always test my link. I don't want any surprises. It went to exactly where it was supposed to go. I save it. So now I have put in a web link into this lesson. When I'm adding pieces to this, they always drop here to the bottom. And then I just move it to wherever I would like it in my slideshow. Add a slide. I could add, this is the PhET simulations. Here's elementary science. You need something on static electricity. Here's a simulation. You preview it. If you like it, you say done. And that quickly it is in your lesson. Add a slide. The videos, this will take you to the video library. If you want to put in a lesson on weather and all, I could just do it right here. Here's this one. It's minute and 36 seconds. It does say grades 6 through 8, but I would look at it and it might be appropriate. And so I could look at it and I could add it in. And you see these blue dots. This one just has 2 questions, but these are the embedded questions. If I wanted to add another one, I would just type here and then I could type in an open-ended question or a multiple choice, and I just save it. So you can use the videos just by themselves, or you can add it inside a lesson. And so you see here it is, it dropped to the bottom. A lot of times when I'm adding, I just let them drop to the bottom and then I move them where I would like to. So here you see a sway. Remember I told you there were a lot of those. Here's the VR field trip. And so maybe we're studying Egypt. And so I do a search. I'm probably going to get a lot of choices. I could have put in the pyramids and such. So here's the pyramids. This would be a VR, the 360. I would preview it, and then I would hit that done, and it's in my lesson. Now, so you can add these different things. There's the sways. They have them in categories by history, famous people. But let's look at activities. Here's the open-ended question, and you really are going to like this. So you put in your question here. It's open-ended, no right or wrong answer. What do you think causes hurricanes? Okay, open-ended. Explain your answer. But over here, I have 2 boxes. This first one means I could add an image of a hurricane. I could add a video of a hurricane. I could add a document. I guess I could add an audio file of what a hurricane sounds like, a URL. Here's my audio recorder. You click on the microphone. Students, we're having hurricanes a lot this year. What do you think causes a hurricane? Please explain your answer. So I'm adding my instructions orally for my students. And I forgot to say that. Wait a minute, because I want you to see this. Okay, audio recorder. Please explain your answer about where do hurricanes originate. So I click it, I save it. Now, when the students would get to this slide, they would see this icon, and that would tell them they could click on it, and it would be you asking your question. Underneath, this is so cool. If you toggle this on, it says enable student audio recordings. So they could answer this question orally. And many students cannot type very well or spell very well, but they can express themselves orally. So when they would get to this question, the students would then record audio, and you'll see the audio file, and you can play it back to them yourself and listen, or for the whole class. So this is a real, just always read all of the screens, so because there's so many small features all over the place. Add a slide. Add activities. See, I'm doing the same thing every time. Matching pairs. You create your own. Here are your instructions. Match the word to the definition. So I come here and I have my text, and my definition, it has to do with hurricanes. And so over here, I put a definition of hurricane as opposed to a tornado. Add another pair. Where you have the younger students, you're doing a beginning sounds. Here's a B. Let's add an image. Up here, I'm going to type in ball. And I'm going to search for an image of a ball. There's one. I got Lucille ball. Save. And so now I could have A for apple, all of that. I could have a math problem, 81. And here is 9 times 9 equals. So this pi sign means I have some other mathematical terms I can use. We're studying presidents of the United States. Abraham Lincoln. And over here, I want to add an image. Now I'm typing in Abraham Lincoln, because if I just typed in Lincoln, I would get Abraham Lincoln and Lincoln cars. So I'm going to use this image. I'm going to save it. Have this little doohickey here. I can make it larger. And I'm done. So you can create your matching pairs. You can have a timer on this activity so that they don't take forever to finish it. So you see, I'm taking this great lesson and I'm just making it my own lesson now. A quiz, very easy to do. You enter your question, you have your answers. You can have more to choose from. You have to choose the right answer. Again, I have this box where I can add media, video, or audio instructions. A quiz could have a lot more questions than one. I could create it, and then if I wanted to turn it into a time to climb, I could do that. Add activities. This is the draw it. Very easy. You put your instructions here. If I had a picture, an image of a map, I did a draw it activity, I could say color in the 13 original colonies. Draw a picture of what you did this last weekend. Draw a picture of how you're feeling today. There's just so much you can do with the draw-its. Add activities. If you use Flipgrid, you can put links to your Flipgrid topics here. Collaborate board, same thing. I'm doing weather. And then you can put in what you want them to write about. Describe the worst storm you've ever been in. And I like these first 3 backgrounds better than this. It's to me, it's not the contrast. I like the contrast. So I tend to stick to these. Anyhow, I save it. Remember, all of these are dropping to the bottom. I'm later on going to arrange them where I would like them to be. This is a poll, again, very easy to do. If
Joan, I just want to give you a 5-minute warning. We have a little less than 5 minutes left.
Okay. What is your favorite ice cream? And you would put your options there. You can allow the students to, oh, now it's going to make me do something. Okay. To have more than one choice. Okay, there it goes, save. All right, so you can see I was doing the same thing over and over. So I was editing it, and I think we hit almost all of those, except fill in the blank. Fill in the blank, you type your text, and then you're going to click on the words that you want to be the blanks. Remember I said you could convert any slide into a draw it. I just click on it, and up here it says convert to draw it. I don't need to keep the original one. And so now I have this has been changed to a draw it activity. And all I have to do is put in my instructions, circle the state that you were born in, whatever I would like for it to be. And I would just save it. Okay, and yes, this was pretty fast and furious. So I'm going to save this whole thing. So I took an existing lesson and I made it a lesson for my class. Remember, you can find so much right here in the Nearpod library. This takes you back to your library. Here's reports. You just click on it and you will find a report for each of your classes. Here's the one we did. Here's you. I can see how each of you did. So yes, that was very fast, and we have 1 minute left. So is there a question or two that I could answer before we wrap it up? You should be, I think you should be able to have a lesson ready to use tomorrow and all. And so I'm going to send you more information and such. And I'm glad you had so many of your teachers participating. That's great.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay. Have a great day.
All right. You do the same.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.